Hello, youngins. Ranger Bill. Welcome back from spring break. I hope you got to do something cool. I did, and I appreciate sharing it with you guys through my videos and the reading of the Witch Pungo, which I hope you saw. I was trying to get out yesterday, stressing to get out yesterday and read this book called Hope is Here, in honor of yesterday's World Curlew Day. That's a bird that we'll talk about today. She's a whimbrel, which is a type of a curlew. But the weather prevented that with the storm squalls kept coming through, so I just couldn't get down here. So I got down here today, and it's a beautiful day down here. I'm at one of the Nature Conservancy properties called Boxtree, which is just down the slope from my house, so I can ride my bike down here, my car if I wish, and sip my coffee and enjoy the sights. It's one of the many public access areas that the Nature Conservancy has, but check their website always and see for any notices and places that you're allowed to go to. They're pretty cool, and I think you'll enjoy them. So I got down here today, which is fortuitous because it happens to be Earth Day, the 50th anniversary, if I'm not mistaken. Started in 1970, so I was about 8 years old when that happened, and I can still remember it. I was in John B. Dye Elementary School, Miss Gatlin's class. To this day, the only teacher I remember that ever hugged me, told me she loved me, and gave me sugar. So anyway, here we are at the 2020 version of Earth Day, and I thought it was a great place to come down and give a message of hope and talk to you a little bit about that, and also to pay tribute, throw a shout out to my friends by the name of Hope. I know some of y'all have the name of Hope, and I have friends on Facebook and outside of school that are named Hope, and one special is Hope of Hope's Harbor Hair. She's the person that tries to keep my hair in control, and she's considered non-essential, so her business is closed right now. So in a show of solidarity for her, I stopped messing with my hair for the most part and let it grow out and let my whiskers go. And who knows, by the time this is all over, maybe I can go into a Shakespeare play or some kind of colonial era performance. But so shout out to her and all the others that have had to go home because of this virus, and I look forward to seeing them up and running again. We all need them. They are indeed essential. So I gotta put my hat back on because the sun's glaring on me out here. So Hope is an interesting story. It has local connections right here on the Eastern Shore. Some of you may be familiar with it, some not. She is a whimbrel, a shorebird, and this body of marsh and waters behind me is a typical home for such a bird, and you're going to see or hear a few today, I hope, while I'm out here. It's been so busy between them and the eagles and other stuff that it took me forever to start filming. I just kind of goofed off and enjoyed it. The thing about birds, though, I'm not a scientist. I'm an interpreter. I'm an educator, and so I see things in different lights. I see things as not necessarily the specifications, but what do they mean to me? What are the significance of those items, those birds, those entities in my life, rather than just the numbers on them. And so scientists and artists may have different interpretations of how they look at it. I wanted to quickly read from Sibley's Birds, which is one of the references I use, but I also love my online references like Merlin and Audubon Birds. Whimbrel, a large sandpiper with relatively short legs and long down-curved bill. Uniformly speckled gray-brown overall with dark crown stripes, the only contrasting markings. In flight, note large size, strong wing beats, plain color, and very pointed wings. Well, that's very bugs. Voice, flight call, rapid, forceful, liquid, kee 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 kee, with no change in pitch. Chase call, given in flight, a series of short, varied whistles and trill notes. Display song, a low, clear whistle, whoop, repeated, followed by a long trill and often ending with several emphatic, high-whistled phrases. So, you're going to hear that in the background, I'm sure. But that is the That is the scientific, that is the documented birding type description of the curlew, of the whimbrel. As I said, I'm an educator and an interpreter, and I look at things differently, and one of my philosophies is never let the facts get in the way of a good story. So I prefer to look at the big picture story, and that's what this is all about, and hope. At the beginning of this book, again, it's Hope is Here, you can find it here on the shore, is a letter written by the First Lady of the United States Virgin Islands, Hope's other home, and the home of the authors who wrote and illustrated this book. And I'm not going to read the whole letter, but I'm going to read two passages from it. Hope is Here tells the true story of a whimbrel, a large shorebird named Hope, and her inspirational travels from breeding grounds in Canada to her wintering spot at Great Pond on St. Croix. In the space of a year, Hope flies approximately 12,000 miles between northwestern Canada and the Caribbean, making just 2 stops along the way. Hope was fitted with a transmitter in 2009 so scientists could track her journey, and the amazing information gained from this research formed the basis for the book. This story offers a unique glimpse into the natural world and underscores the importance of protecting our environment for birds and all living things, creatures, including us. The illustrations are colorful and engaging, interspersed with actual photographs of Hope in Virginia and at Great Pond. This book will teach and entertain children, and I know that adults will find it appealing as well. So, the story of Hope, which in part takes place right here on the eastern shore of Virginia, and in a place called Hope Creek, of all places. Now, this is how the book's laid out, and it takes place from the standpoint of an educator, an interpreter, a biologist in St. Croix, and she has, I would imagine, a very distinct accent, which I won't try to copy because I'll just do it an injustice and make myself look silly and probably offend people. So I'm going to do my best of reading this, and you can just kind of imagine a little Caribbean tone to it. All right, so we're on the island of St. Croix in the U.S. Virgin Islands at the Great Pond. Okay, kids, we're here. Is it exact same place I saw Hope 2 weeks ago? Hope is where we are here. Hope is why we are here. She's I'm tired. I'm thirsty. I'm hungry and I want to go home. And why are we whispering? Just drink some water and get comfortable. I'm whispering so we can bird watch and find Hope, if we're lucky. Where are we again? And what do you mean, find Hope? We're on Great Pond sitting quietly while we watch for a bird named Hope. I'm bored. How long do we have to wait here? Bored? You won't be bored when I tell you the story of Hope. She can teach us courage, strength, and heart. Let's see who can spot her first. Please tell us the story, Miss B. Hope is a whimbrel, a large shorebird with a story you won't believe. I always get shorebird wrong. Miss B whispered, just so you all know, I'll say it again. This is a true story. Hope is the whimbrel we are trying to see today. Every year, from August to May, she lives right here in St. Croix. Our wetlands provide her with what seems like an endless supply of her favorite food, fiddler crabs. Looking left and right, she said, all whimbrels have long, thin legs, beaks that curve downward, and long, skinny toes. She's got beautiful brown feathers and a light, dark streak down her dark head. You might think Hope looks a little funny at first, but what she does every year is no joke. You know it's Hope for sure if her band, but wait, I'm getting ahead of myself. All right, so here we are in St. Croix. I'm hoping you can see this. And this is a whimbrel. Crown on top of the head, dark with a distinct light stripe in the middle. There's some out there right now, by the way. Streaked and buffy brownish all over. Long legs, long skinny toes. Long dark curved beak, good for digging for crabs in the mud. common name is a whimbrel. Scientific name is Numineus phaeopus. Maybe. This means new moon in Greek because it's the shape of her beak. All right. I hear woodpeckers right behind me in the dead trees. All right, here we go. Hope had a job besides eating and flying and protecting her territory from other whimbrels. For almost 4 years, she provided scientists with information about what she did every day. Whimbrels, like lots of birds, have different homes at different times of the year. Without fail, they fly to these places that are very far apart and spend time in each spot. Now we know that every year Hope flies more than 12,000 miles between her breeding grounds to lay eggs and her wintering grounds where she spends most of the year right here where it is warm. Dragging a stick back and forth across the ground, Miss B said, keep hearing the woodpecker back there. That is like you and me making 10 trips from the Virgin Islands to Miami. In 4 years, she has flown close to 51,000 miles. That's the same as flying around the world. And they show from her breeding grounds up in northwestern Canada, all the way down through the United States to St. Croix in the U.S. Virgin Islands. Everyone listened quietly while they watched for Hope to appear. Instead, a snowy egret landed. In 2009, Hope was caught by a scientist, Fletcher Smith, on Hope Creek in the Virginia wetlands. She was there eating fiddler crabs as fast as she could catch them. Fletcher didn't know where she had come from or where she was going. What he did know was he needed the information to protect the species. Hope depends on the places Hope depends on for food and rest. Fletcher knew the best way to gather that information was to place a tiny solar-powered antenna on her back. With this, he could follow every mile she flew and every place she landed. Smiling, she said, "I love it. Technology and a living bird are the perfect example of science with a heart." Predators. Adult whimbrels have few natural predators. Other than foxes or larger raptors, their biggest threat is humans and the impact we have on the breeding, staging, resting, and wintering sites. Hunters also pose a threat. This is why it is so important for countries to come together to protect all the sites Hope and her fellow whimbrels use on their migration routes. Who is doing the study? The study of whimbrels flight is being conducted by the Center of Conservation Biology at the College of William and Mary in Virginia, Virginia Commonwealth University, and the Virginia chapter of the Nature Conservancy. Field biologist Fletcher Smith has been closely tracking Hope during 4 round trips from Virginia to her breeding grounds in the Arctic region of the Mackenzie River Delta in the northwestern Canada, to her staging spot in Southampton Island in the Hudson Bay of Canada, to her wintering spot in the wetlands of Great Pond on St. Croix in the Virgin Islands. Now, all the kids were watching Miss B as she drew another line on the ground. Fletcher and birdwatchers around the world followed Hope's travels on their computers as their tiny transmitters sent in live reports. I'm sure you will be surprised, as they were, by the trips this bird, the size of a small duck, makes. Tapping the beginning of the long line she had drawn, she said, "The first surprise came when she left Virginia. Hope flew directly to the place where she nests, in the Arctic region of northwestern Canada. Imagine flying over 3,000 miles in 6 days." Tapping the other end of the line, Miss B said, "Here she makes a nest on the ground and lays her eggs. It's cold and wild up here. No one lives nearby like we do here at the Great Pond." After breeding, Hope starts the journey back to her wintering grounds in St. Croix. Breeding. Whimbrels breed in the Arctic and subarctic from Iceland to Canada to Alaska and Eurasia. They prefer to nest in low Arctic moorland close to the tree line. They nest either in shallow holes on the ground hidden in low grass or on a mound of moss and grass with water at the base. A nest usually has 2 to 5 eggs, and both male and female whimbrels incubate eggs 22 to 28 days. Both parents also care for the chicks until they fledge, leave the nest in about 35 to 40 days. Speckled eggs here keep the nest safe, hidden in the grass. And they show from the McKenzie River Delta all the way across to the Hudson Bay, and that's what it looks like. And that's an image of the eggs and a baby whimbrel that's just been tagged. Very cool. Drawing a line connected to the first line, she dragged it to the right. Every year she flies east, usually flying 2 days without stopping. Her goal is to reach Southampton Island in Hudson Bay. Her strong wings carry her to almost the exact same spot every time. Miss B smiled and said, she knows she will find the food on the island to make her strong for the next leg of her journey back to St. Croix. She eats until she's so full she won't have to stop on her trip. Once for 3 weeks she gobbled down blueberries, cloudberries, crowberries, turning her narrow beak purple. And again, they show the tracking. Now, leaning forward, she said, you won't believe what happened next. Fat from her berry feast, Hope headed toward the sea and south. For 2 days, she zipped along at 43 miles per hour until she flew straight into a tropical storm Gert. Imagine something so small flying right into that storm. What happened to her? Asked the nurse, Jack. Did she make it through the storm? Asked Labina. Did she make it through the storm? What happened? Miss B patted their heads, and as she whispered, for 2 days she flew into the strong headwinds, and her speed dropped down to only 9 miles per hour, like a car in a traffic jam. But Hope never gave up. Feeling everyone's tension, she said, finally, she broke through the storm's other side and zoomed like a pebble through a slingshot, 92 miles per hour. In an hour and a half, she flew straight to the nearest land, Cape Cod. That's in Massachusetts. There she rested after 4 days of nonstop flying and fighting a major storm. Deep sighs of relief could be heard. Drawing another line down, Miss B said, and still her journey wasn't finished. First, she flew back to the same place in Virginia where they put the equipment on her. There she rested and ate lots of crabs to give her strength for the last leg of the trip. Drawing another line that ended with a star, Miss B whispered, as if she hadn't already flown across North America, then through the storm at sea. She flew south for 2 days without stopping. Finally, Hope landed safely on St. Croix. Brianna and Louis silently high-fived each other to celebrate her safe arrival. Pointing across the ground in front of them, Miss B said, well, now, we'll know Hope when we see her because now she wears a green band attached to her leg. In November 2012, Fletcher came to St. Croix to find her. Her antenna no longer worked, and he wanted to catch her and to remove it. For 3 days, Fletcher sat in the camouflage tent right here, watching Hope and waiting to catch her. When he caught her, Fletcher removed the solar-powered antenna, and then he set her free. Hope sounds like a super bird, said Louis. She sure is, whispered Miss B. Hope has provided more information than any other whimbrel. Through her help, we now know what areas to protect, like right here in the Great Pond. With a twinkle in her eye, Miss B asked, can anyone name her other places? Kareem's hand went up. The Arctic in Canada. Labina's whispered, Hudson Bay. And Alice said, Virginia. Clapping her hands, Miss B said, excellent. And so, my fellow bird watchers, we all now know the story of Hope. I'm so happy you listened so well. I guess we'd better get ready to go back. We can't go back yet. We haven't seen Hope. You aren't too tired? Not me, Miss B. Maybe Hope will come out soon. Is anyone still too thirsty or hungry or bored? Hope is here. She's beautiful. She's so small to fly so far. Miss B, we want to help Hope. What can we do? I'm sure there's something we can do, Louis. Let's think about it and make a plan. I have some ideas for how we can help, and I'm sure all of you do too. Let's save Hope's home here. We love Hope. I'll never complain again. Let's do it. Hooray for Hope. Yeah, man. Afterward. Even without her antenna, we were still able to follow Hope. Thanks to the green leg band she still wears. In March 2013, photographer and naturalist Lisa, I'm going to get this one wrong, Yatima, Lisa Yatima, I think, sorry. And I had the pleasure of seeing Miss Lisa, had not seen her over 5 weeks, so she was very happy when a healthy Hope stepped forward. After snacking on something tasty from the mud, Hope turned and looked at us. The green band on her upper leg told us that it was Hope. Together we said, Hope is here. On August 23rd, 2013, Lisa saw Hope at a new location in St. Croix on Southgate Pond. She was with a group of very tired whimbrels. Lisa thought she was there because the water was just the perfect depth for feeding. It was surprising because she had never gone anywhere else in St. Croix while wearing the transmitter, proving that we still have a lot to learn. 6 days later, on August 29th, Hope was back in her old stomping grounds at Great Pond. Then on September 4th, Lisa and a friend saw her there again. It's great to know that Hope is here again. How can kids help the environment? Here's some ideas. Join or help organize a cleanup day at a beach, park, or wetland. Never litter. Always put your trash in the garbage can. Plant a tree, a bush, or flowers. Maybe a plant that produces food you can eat. Don't waste water. Take shorter showers. But take showers. Don't waste electricity. Shut off lights not being used and other electrical things. Don't waste paper. Use both sides of recycled paper when possible. Reduce. Buy less stuff. Reuse. Use again whatever you can, like jars, boxes, and bags. Recycle. Save things like aluminum cans that can be processed and used again. Spend time in nature and enjoy. All right, so that's the story of Hope. I hope you've enjoyed it. I did. It's a good story. It's got a good message, and it's local. And so I encourage you to get out and look to see if you can find hope somewhere and enjoy it. Tonight, as a continuation of Earth Day, I hope to light a bonfire at the farm and read Dragon and Sleepy Owl for a bedtime note. The other night, on Sunday night, while I was celebrating the last night of spring break with a bonfire and cooking crabs on the grill, a couple barred owls stopped by and spent the whole night with me, and we stayed up until until daylight. And then they went home, and then the daybirds took over. So maybe they'll stop by at night. If not, I'll try to incorporate some of the video that I took the other night by the fire with the owls into that. Anyway, thanks for listening. Miss you guys. Celebrate Earth Day every day, and take care of the world. All right? I love you. Peace.